This is incredible. Ron Dante is here.
I'm here. Glad to be here. RockCon. Come on down. It's great.
You are the Archies.
Well, thank you. I have been animated for years, and this is a great time to meet all the fans and meet people. Come down. But I remember when Don Kirshner called me to be one of the Archies. He said, "You'll never be on camera. You'll always be, it'll always be an animation." I said, "Yeah, but I grew up with the Archies, so I just love the characters. I was honored to become one of the Archies, and of course, singing Sugar Sugar was the biggest thrill of my life."
Now, do you have an identity crisis? Because you're also the Cufflinks.
Well, I'll tell you. The Cufflinks was done almost the exact same time the Archies worked, and they put out the records at the same time. So when Sugar Sugar was #1 by the Archies, Tracy was #5 by the Cufflinks, and people still came up to me on the street and said, "What are you doing with your life?" So, but it's fine. I sang for so many people, and I was so many groups.
So what other stuff did you do that is going to shock us now?
Well, you probably remember a group, if you remember all these records, the Detergents had a big hit.
Leader of the Laundromat.
Right.
That was you?
That was my first group. And it hit top 10. It was on Roulette Records. The legendary Morris Levy put the record out. And I was part of the group. We toured for a year with the Shangri-Las. And we were out there doing Leader of the Laundromat right after they do Leader of the Pack.
You know what? I have to tell you, you were on Roulette Records. You could come out with a book, too.
Listen, my book would be good, but I don't think it could beat Tommy James's book. He's got a great book, and I hear they're going to turn it into a Broadway show.
As a matter of fact, he's a guest on our show coming up in 2 weeks, and yes, I think that's the plan.
That's the plan. Now, Tommy's a great guy, one of the greatest voices, greatest writer, producers around. One of my idols is Tommy.
Sugar Sugar. Now, did you have a hand in writing it, or was it that guy right over there?
Well, we're pointing at Andy Kim. Andy Kim wrote Sugar Sugar with the legendary Jeff Barry, who wrote Be My Baby, Hanky Panky, Leader of the Pack. Great songwriter. And Andy and Jeff wrote Sugar Sugar for me. I heard Jeff called Andy up and said, "We need a song for the Archies." And Andy on the phone said, "How about something like Sugar, ba 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 ba, honey, honey." And that was the beginning of the song that has lasted 40 years now.
Now, how did this all happen for you?
Well, I was a staff writer for Don Kirshner, legendary music mogul of the 60s. Donnie had a publishing firm called Alder Music, and he signed me as a teenager to write. So I knew Donnie all those years. I left, and then a few years later, I heard he was casting for the Archies. And a friend of mine in the band said, "You should apply yourself, call." So I called, and Donnie immediately said, "Come on over." I went over, I met Jeff Barry and definitely Don Kirshner, and they said, "Well, you can be the voice of the Archies." And this is recorded that night.
This is unbelievable, because you've had a million selling records, and yet it's Ron Dante. But look, you can still be the Archies, right?
Listen, I love the Archies. I grew up on them. I love the group. I still go out as Ron Dante of the Archies, and sometimes it's billed the Archies starring Ron Dante. And I'll bring a couple of girls to be Betty and Veronica.
You ever been to Atlantic City?
I have never been to Atlantic City. It's one of my favorite spots in the world to gamble, and I would love to do a show there.
You hear that? That could be in Ron Dante's future. And this is Marc Berman for AC Plugged In, All Celebrity Radio with Ron Dante right over here at RockCon.